Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now here are your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And in the fourth quarter, we did what we did to, seal out the game and get out there with a win. And, it was pretty solid performance, but, there's always still room for improvement.
Got to get off blocks, got to make some tackles. We had an opportunity down the goal line to make a tackle. We missed a tackle. So those things we'll continue to work through. Kids battled hard and fought there, and it's a 7-point game and disappointed.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. We begin a brand new week. What a great week it's going to be. Got some big stuff to talk about moving forward, of course, with Clemson and Louisville, the big showdown in the ACC coming up on Saturday night at Death Valley. South Carolina and Texas A&M, SEC battle in Columbia. The Gamecocks hoping to be able to pull off the upset of the Aggies. Gamecocks coming off a disappointing loss at Kentucky. And, of course, on Thursday, Clemson went and took down Georgia Tech in Atlanta. Your thoughts on the weekend, 800-956-7266. If you'd like to share your opinions with us, 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. Have to admit, it was a bummer of a Sunday with Arnold Palmer passing away, Fernandez passing away tragically with the Marlins. It was just one of those days that, you're a sports fan and you see, especially in the case of Arnold Palmer, one of the great people in all of sports, not just golf, but just in all of sports, pass away, even though he was 87. And you could tell that his health wasn't great. From what I read from like Jack Nicklaus and others, nobody was expecting him to pass away yesterday. They knew he was going into the hospital in Pittsburgh for a checkup, and perhaps a heart procedure was scheduled for today, but nobody expected it to come to an end yesterday. So very, very sad news. And, of course, the tragedy down in Miami. How terrible is that for a great, great young talent like that to be taken away?
Yeah, I think some people might not realize just how good Fernandez was down in Miami because the team hasn't been great, but that was really hard. I saw that Sunday morning, and I saw a tweet, and I hope that's wrong. It was like just came out, and I didn't see it anywhere else. And then when it was confirmed, just an exciting young pitcher that would have been a household name, probably by the end of his career, gone. So that's awful news. What a pitch tonight. It's going to be an emotional time in Miami tonight against the Mets.
when every year passes as I get older, you recognize when you see a guy 24 and you start to think of him as just a baby. He was just starting. Just starting out.
And considering that, he tried to escape from Cuba several times, finally got away. And
with his mom fell out once in the water and he rescued her. I mean, he just an amazing story that we're hearing about now. The people down in Miami already knew. And I was in Florida. And I can tell you that whole state was rattled by that news. It was all over everywhere down there. Yeah, tragic. All right, 800-956-7266. I was, of course, at Clemson, Georgia Tech on Thursday. We talked about it. I was at USC, Kentucky on Saturday. And, it's one of those games that you cover South Carolina. If you're a media covering them or you're a fan of the Gamecocks, you walk away just sort of shaking your head saying, they let one get away that they could have won. Now Kentucky probably feels like, they got one that they should have. Let's face it, these are bottom feeders of the SEC East. Kentucky's not very good, especially without Barker at quarterback. I know Johnson can do some nice things, and he hurt the Gamecocks a few times with his legs. But, South Carolina's defense, you give up 17 points on the road to a team that can score a lot of points. You feel like you've got a pretty good chance, but the offense was way too inconsistent. But I'm not letting the defense off the hook either, because Kentucky just said, we're going to run the ball. And they ran it 21 straight times to end the game. That's how they finished out their offense. They ran it 21 with only one pass play call. That turned out to be a run. But it started out as a pass, and he turned it into a run. 21 straight runs to close out the game for Kentucky's offense. Yet, the Gamecocks did get the ball last possession, got it down to the 28-yard line, and then had a couple of sacks. Yeah. That's just, and I think people need to be reminded too, and we get a lot of comments, and I think we got a lot of comments on the what the phone line that we'll play. You like that? What the phone line?
Yeah.
WTF.
I was listening to some of the messages that came in Saturday night during that game, and they are it's going to be a good segment.
So we'll bring that to you. But you have to remember, truly, South Carolina is a work in progress. And the thing about Muschamp is, you don't get this unless you're there with him after the games and see him and listen to him. And that's why we cover the teams and cover the games and go to the locker rooms and go to the post games. You have to hear him and see him in person. He can explain everything that's going on. He certainly has a grasp on what is happening offensively and defensively, why this happened, why that happened. It's just that they just don't have the players.
No,
they just don't have the players, which is a little bit. And I'll let you talk in a second. I haven't counted it all up. Get back on my pedestal here, railing away against rankings for a moment. But South Carolina, if you look at their classes, 16, 15, 14, 13, going by Rivals rankings, they have an ample supply of the quote unquote 4-star players. I mean, they have, by the recruiting services, good players. But if you look at those players' names and attach it to the performances, you see that they have not lived up to that billing.
Upperclassmen that are 4-star guys on their offense
and defense. I'll go back and name them for you here in a little bit. But my point is about this is why you don't hang your hopes on recruiting ranking year after year after year, because half the time they don't pan out.
No.
Sometimes some of them will. Half the time they don't pan out. That's why it's a fraudulent system. And guys that you aren't expecting to be good do turn out to be good players.
And you got to develop them too. That's a part of it.
Yeah, that's part of it.
But I don't know why anybody would be surprised. I mean, the Gamecock offense, maybe I think they certainly underperformed on Saturday against a bad defense. They needed to be better than 10 points. But they have a true freshman quarterback. They have a freshman running back. They have no proven playmakers that are healthy at wide receiver. They're going to struggle offensively, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. They have some really hard games coming up. Now, you mentioned Muschamp having the answers, and I went back and listened to his comments, and I've watched him. I do think that he's falling into that Nick Saban mold of, I don't have to explain anything to anybody. I know what I'm doing. And he does know what he's doing. He's not lost out there. He's not
he explained
ignorant, but
he explained.
Sean Elliott needs to come out there and talk to the media. They're sending out Mason Zandy. They need to send out Sean Elliott. They need to send out the offensive coordinator to talk about the offense, because I'm telling you, Phil, the fans are not going to sit back. And with Will Muschamp, and the fair or not, he is attached to what happened at Florida. And the offense was a train wreck. Now, it's not his fault that this offense is a train wreck. He inherited a train wreck. But people are going to want some answers, and it's already starting. It's percolating there in social media and message boards. It's going to start coming into this show in the next few weeks. Mark my words, it will. And people are going to go, he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know offense. The defense is better. Kurt Roper's too conservative. This is a joke. Something has to happen, because they haven't even hit the tough games yet, Pro.
No,
they're about to get clobbered probably this weekend.
Here's the key point. People talk about talent, and that's good. Talent is good. But also you have to have confidence and a character in what you're doing. You can't tell Mississippi State upset Oklahoma and they upset Georgia in the Georgia Dome that they had the best players on the field. But they had a system that they knew up and down, and every time Georgia's defense would shift, they shift out of that play. That's not here at South Carolina yet. You can't do it. Also, if you're simplifying the offense for a freshman quarterback, guess who you also simplifying the offense for? The defensive coordinator who has to break you down. Because I'm seeing defensive players moving before the snap because they've been taught, here's South Carolina's formation. Here's the play they're going to run.
All right, got to hit a break. We'll get to your calls, 800-956-7266. Be right back. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. And let's get to a couple of your phone calls. We got the good, bad, and the ugly coming up for you here in a little bit as well. So get ready for that. Let's go to John in Florence. Kick things off this week on Sports Talk. Hey, John.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
I think my feeling is that had we been able to somehow get a win at then when we look down the rest of the year, that we had 2 games that we probably could have won, and then hopefully we could have stolen one and ended up with 6 wins, or hopefully we could luck out and steal one of those other games somehow, and that would have really made the year for us. Of course, now it makes it more difficult, so I think it's kind of a downer for some of us fans today. But here's my question real quick. With Coach Muschamp, after hearing him the other night, do you think that he's with the true freshman quarterback come hell or high water, he's going to stay with that? Or do you think he'll now look at maybe trying to incorporate Nunez a little bit more, because you got a 4-star there who obviously, when he gets the ball in his hands, there's always some opportunities there, because I've seen some other guys with their comments on the websites as well too. Because I know last year we had Pharaoh Cooper, but last year the defense wasn't as good as it is this year, it seems like. But yet they seem to do anything they possibly could.
John, I'm not attacking you here, so don't take this the wrong way. When you say 4-star, what does that mean to you? In your mind, what does that define a player should be?
Well, you would think, and I know where you're coming from, you would think that they're above the average player.
I mean, do you think that should be a starter? Do you think that should be an all-league player? Do you think that should be
a starter?
Mm-hmm.
No, I would say a starter.
Yeah.
He's got a couple of years on him too.
During the break, I went over the last 3 classes at South Carolina, and I think I probably pointed out about a dozen or more 4-star players who aren't contributing, who are playing but aren't,
for various reasons,
aren't playing very well and aren't doing positive things to help them win.
What's the breaking news that all these guys that are coming out of high school ranked high?
Because I'm trying to, he's the perfect example. John is the fans see that. They see 4-star by a guy's name. They see 5-star. They think that automatically translates into wins. And what I'm saying is it's not always the player's fault. They're not good enough to be considered that kind of a player.
Sure. I mean,
and either, the coaches were buying into it. The previous staff were buying into the star rankings and thinking they got to, beef up their ranking in the recruiting world so that the fans will think they're recruiting well. They've made a ton of bad evaluations. I mean, I'm sorry, South Carolina, after watching some of those guys the other night, they got players that could Clemson scouts. I mean, Terry Guger, forget it. Couldn't play for Clemson's scout team on offense. Some of their offensive linemen,
well,
they'd be 5th team on
that's
there, or bad development,
or both.
But buying into the star system, that's why I asked John the question. It really I'm trying to stamp that out in college sports. It's a one-man crusade,
because
trying to change your thinking here. I know it's fruitless because the millennials, the younger group, they buy it, they subscribe, and that's all they know is rankings and ratings and that, and they hang their hat on that. And K-Mac argues, well, look at Alabama and their recruiting. They get a bunch of 5-stars, and look where they are as a football program. But, it's the players that are good before the star ranking goes on. I mean, if you're good, you're going to be good whether you have that stamp of a 5-star or a 4-star or 3-star.
But you don't know that. It's an inexact science. I mean, NFL guys get it wrong too. There's guys that are first-round draft picks that end up out of the league in a year. I mean, these are NFL people that are paid to do it, because you could be a really good college player and not be a good NFL player. A 4-star means in high school, you are one of the best high school players at your position in your state or in the country.
No, I think it's more than that. I think they project you to be a starter at that.
Well, I don't know what, but I know this complete debunking of the recruiting ranking mean nothing. If you go and you look at it, like it's not an end all be all. And just because, and this is a debate that I had with a lot of people during the summer when I said this South Carolina team is in a cavern of talent compared to where they out of a good team.
A&M was 6.
They're ranked number 10.
Georgia was 7. Florida 8. Auburn 9. People complain about their talent.
Ding, ding,
Southern
ding,